Algebra II 7.5c, Negative Rational Exponents. If you missed the previous 14 videos for Chapter 7, I don't want you to become lost or confused, and there's links in this description so you can just click on them. So we've learned in the past that 3 to the negative first power can be rewritten as a rational number, a fraction, as 1/3. We can use a negative to positive rule for exponents and flip it around, and we'll make that exponent a positive. We just don't usually write that little 1, do we? We just write it as 1/3. Negative rational exponents have a meaning similar to negative integer exponents. And changing the sign of an exponent amounts to finding a reciprocal. So we can flip this as the reciprocal by just putting a negative sign in front of our exponent. See? For any rational number m over n and any positive real number a, if a is to the negative mnth, we can write it as a fraction with 1 as a numerator and the a to the positive mnth as the denominator. If we've got 8 to the negative 1/3 power, we can rewrite it as a rational with this as a denominator and making our exponent a positive. If you remember from the last video, 7.5b, and there's a link in this description to watch that one if you missed it, this denominator becomes our index, our root. So we end up with the cube root of 8 here, and we can write it as a fraction, and we find the cube root of 8 as a 2 cubed. We can remove that perfect cube, and we end up with 1 over 2, or a half, okay? So using that negative to positive rule for exponents, we can rewrite these positive exponent with positive exponents. So if we have 4 to the negative half, remember that 2 is going to become our root, our index. We can flip it around because there's technically a 1 underneath here, right? We can rewrite this as a fraction with a 1 underneath it, right? So we can flip that around and make that a positive exponent as the denominator, and the denominator of this denominator is a 2. That's going to be our index or our root. So we've got 1, and it's going to be over the square root of 4, which is a 2. Square root of 4 is 2. 2 times 2. So we have a half when it's simplified. So that rational exponent denominator is the index or the root of the radical expression. All right, that was from the last video. This can be rewritten, and technically it can have a 1 underneath it, right? We can flip it around so that this is the denominator, and this is positive with it in the denominator. That's the reciprocal of this, because technically it can have a 1 underneath it, right? We can just flip it around, and now our exponent's a positive. See? Reciprocals. It's just flipped around, and now that exponent's a positive, all right? And it's simplified, okay? And if it's inside of parentheses like this, well, we're just using that 3rd power rule for exponents, aren't we? It's saying that we can multiply the numerator and the denominator by that negative 3/4. We can flip it around as a reciprocal and put the 8 on top and the 1 on the bottom as a denominator and multiply it by a positive 3/4, and that's just going to give us 8 to the 3/4 power. See? If we've got a negative exponent down here as the denominator, the exponent of the denominator, when we flip it around to the reciprocal, it becomes a positive. See? So then we have x to the 2/3 power. See? So we can use the properties of exponents to simplify. And there's going to be a link to video 1.8d from the beginning of this playlist and this subject, Algebra 2, where we talked about all the different properties of exponents and all the different power rules and product rules and quotient rules. So you can watch that real quick to get a review. If we've got 3 to the 1/5 power times 3 to the 3/5 power, well, they have like bases, so all we're going to do is add the exponents. If this was a to the 2nd power times a to the 2nd power, it would be a to the 4th power, wouldn't it? So we're not going to get a 9 here. It has a like base, so we're just going to add the exponents, and we're going to get a 4/5 power. That's the product rule. So just remember, if you have to find common denominators for these rational exponents, just do it when you're adding or subtracting them, okay? Because that's what we do with fractions, right? All right? So remember, fractions are little division problems, all right? So we've got 7 to the 1/4 power divided by 7 to the 1/2 power. we're going to subtract these, and because we're subtracting, we need to find a common denominator. We can use 8, and we get 2/8 minus 4/8. That's going to give us a negative 2/8, which simplifies to a negative 1/4 as our exponent. Okay? That's the quotient rule. All right, so here's the first power rule. Remember, there's 3 power rules for exponents. And the first one says that we can multiply this power raised to that power. So we get 7.2 to the 2/3 power times 3/4 power. See? And 2 times 3 is 6, and 3 times 4 is 12. We simplify that to 7.2 to the half power. Using the quotient rule again, we're going to subtract, right? So because this has a like base, we're just going to have 8.3 to the 3/4 power minus 2/5. We need to find a common denominator. We can use 20. So we get 15/20 minus 8/20, which gives us 7/20 as our exponent. Okay? So all those links are going to be in this video's description. You could just go right to them. Our next video is 7.5D, and we're going to talk about rational exponents to simplify radicals. I'm going to add this video to the Algebra II playlist for studying, for your future studying and chapter tests and stuff. And we talked about this back in Algebra 1 last year. So the links to the videos for Algebra 1 that covers this are also going to be in this description, along with the previous video of 1.8D, that rules for exponents. It's a big review that goes over all the rules for exponents. And those other previous Chapter 7 videos, okay, in case you missed them. Because you don't want to miss any steps on your ladder, because it's harder to climb the ladder then, right? So I hope you're having a great day, and I hope I explained this well enough. And I want you to remember that you can go to my homepage on YouTube for JoAnn School, and you can see the fan funding links there to help me out with $1 or $2. And you can also go to patreon.com to become a monthly patron. I'm a grandma on a fixed income, and this is what I do for a living. So trying to help myself get by each month. So keep up the good work, and I'll see you next video. Bye.